What's going on, everybody? I hope everyone is having a fantastic Saturday. The Miami Hurricanes have defeated the Southern Miss Golden Eagles 30-7 in an ugly first half for us. I felt like we came out very flat. We were slow. It's like we weren't even up to play the first half. I don't know if it was, they were expecting a weaker opponent, a walkthrough, getting ready for Texas A&M. But that whole first half was just flat and awful, in my opinion. And I didn't expect that primarily. I'm glad we fixed the issues in the second half. There's a lot to cover, but first half was just, I didn't like it at all. And I know a lot of the fan base as well can agree.
We simply can't start like that, especially against better opponents. I mean, thankfully today we were playing a subpar opponent, which allowed us to stay in the game even while we weren't playing great within the first quarter and then able to pull away in our first half and able to pull away in the second half. That won't be able to happen against decent teams. They will take advantage of that and they will use it against us. And I'll tell you what, man, I mean, the consistency of the pass game has to click in both halves. We can't have one half of just amazing plays and amazing passes, amazing runs, and then just have the first half just slow and really just kind of pointless in a lot of ways. I mean, a lot of it, like you said, a lot of it seemed like we were playing down to our opponent, and I hate that, dude.
Yeah, no, especially a G5 opponent. That first half, I don't think gets you through conference play, to be honest. I mean, you can't have an awful first half like that against Texas A&M because they actually have really good receivers. Their quarterback tends to turn the ball over a lot, but we're going to be in. We can't have a first half like that in any conference game and any. I don't care if the opponent's ranked. We can't play like that. Okay, we cannot be that flat. To be in a dogfight in the first half with Southern Miss is never good. U5 opponent. I'll say, talk about positives. The run game, we shut down Frank Gore Jr., who I thought was going to be the primary person of their offense. I didn't think they would be efficient throwing the football. He had 7 carries for 10 yards. Their quarterback, Zach Wilkie, had 12 carries for 29 yards. Basically, they had a total of 33 rushing yards throughout the entire game, and I think that's fantastic. If you can limit your opponent to 33 rushing yards in a game, that's phenomenal. And you know what? We gave Corey Flagg a lot of trouble last week, but I thought he was the best player on defense this week.
Flagg looked really good. He looked very technically sound, and he wasn't double thinking. He wasn't just waiting for things to happen. He was going after the ball carrier, and he was making plays, and that's what we need to see from our linebackers more often. And going back to the Frank Gore Jr. talk, just real quick here, I believe that we held him to 23 yards total, running and catching. So, I mean, dude, we shut down their playmaker, basically. We shut down their best playmaker in terms of their running back situation. But Brownlee, their wide receiver, he can play in the P5. I've seen enough of him.
I want to talk about cornerback play real quick because I wasn't really satisfied by it at all today. Obviously, Tyreek Stevenson is our leader. My perspective on the picks, on the interception he had in the end zone, as a veteran player, I'm trying to hear because I was at the game and sometimes on TV I feel like maybe you get some background, more clarity. Why did Tyreek Stevenson just pause in the end zone when he
There was
why didn't he just take off? I understand you have to identify where you're at. When you pick a football off and it's like, hey, do I do a touchback or do I just try to go for it, get as many yards as possible? Because you don't want to give up. You don't want to be like at the 3 or 5 yard line. You make a mistake. But he had a wide open lane for a touchdown, a pick six. And this is something I covered in the last show. I think our defense, to be successful, we have to create an identity of turning the ball over and scoring points off of those turnovers to be successful this season.
Yeah. It was odd, very odd.
Veteran player, why didn't he identify that? Was the play stopped by the officials? Did they thought it was a touchback automatically? Maybe he gave a motion that they thought it was a touchback, was an error on the official. I'm trying to understand.
I think that's what took place, Paul. I think that they thought he basically gave up on the play and was calling it down in the end zone, and the maybe the official might have called it too soon or something. Maybe Stevenson just wasn't putting two and two together and just wasn't quite thinking, exactly of what he should have done. But dude, that should have been a bigger turnaround for us. Because like you said, after I watched the film, there was tons of room for him to run down the field after he made that interception. Tons of room.
Daryl Porter Jr., he got into the game. There was basically the quarterback threw. I mean, he just basically just threw a football in the air. It was floating in the air. It wasn't a good pass. And it set up Daryl Porter Jr. for an easy interception. You can't allow the receiver to just grab it from you, take the ball. I mean, it was basically a jump ball situation. It was an awful pass, but it was a goal. It was an easy pick. It was easy, and we can't have that against a very good wide receiver core against Texas A&M. I hate repeating this. DJ Ivy, he literally had another interception, literally at his chest. He got and it just pops out. We can't afford to just give up easy interceptions. And today was Ivy did not play well at all. Neither did Al Blades Jr. And we put in Malik Curtis in a couple plays, and he got burnt by Frank Gore Jr. On one route, and then it took him out the game immediately. So I think cornerback play, you got to circle in that group, and you got to watch them closely against Texas A&M because with their wide receiver core, I think that's an identified mismatch going into this game.
Yeah, back to that Daryl Porter play there. Brownlee did make a nice catch going over the top of him. I'll give him props for that. He rose above him and made the play. I don't know if Porter mistimed the jump or if he simply didn't jump high enough, mistaking where the ball was going to be. But either way, he totally blew that play. He had a chance to make a play on that ball, interception or not. He had a chance to impact that ball, and he didn't come anywhere close to it. Brownlee was like 5-6 inches over the top of him, ready to make that play. I don't know where the hunger issue is, the competitive, the fighting for the contested passes issue. I don't know where that is with Porter, but dude, it can't happen, bro. It can't happen.
Texas A&M will eat us alive if we do not show up to play with our cornerbacks. They have better wide receivers than us.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry. They're a lot better. We may have a better quarterback.
What do we do with Ivy?
Receivers are good.
What do we do?
I think I've identified that we just don't have the personnel at cornerback play Ross to the point where it's like you got to play him because we don't have anyone. What I saw from Daryl Porter Jr. on that play, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. Okay, that's all I needed to see. That's really all I needed to see. That was awful. Okay, Malik Curtis getting burnt by Frank Gore Jr. I don't care who his father is. He's a G5 running back burning you on a route. Yeah, it's awful. I know he doesn't play. He's early in college football, but even the freshmen, you against a G5 opponent, you should be dominating. So we just don't have the personnel right now. We either have to develop the young guys, get Malik Curtis more reps, develop him more. I mean, we just need help. We need help at cornerback play. And besides Stevenson and Couch, I mean, it's really a big drop off.
I'm not sure what is holding Dunson back, but with his frame, his length, his height, I mean, dude, I'd love to at least give him a shot out there just to see what he can do, especially in these type of games we're playing against a lesser opponent. But when you let a lesser opponent stay in a game, you have to keep your starters in longer, and that's a shame. There should have been more guys getting more snaps down the line, in my opinion, earlier in this game, trying to make an impact. Ivy's going to stick around, I think, simply because of his experience, and I hope that doesn't end up burning us in the long run. I really hope it doesn't.
He's been in the program for 5 years, so it's his last year, basically. I think so, the COVID year. So, best of luck moving forward. It's going to be an interesting game next week. We'll see because they have a strong wide receiver core. I want to talk about Avonte Williams. He does play on special teams because I know the chat's going crazy. I guess he removed things on social media. I think the staff is just rolling with James Williams and Cam Kitchens. I think that's who they're rolling with, and Avonte's just not getting playing time. I think that's the reality of the situation right now. I'm sure he's frustrated. He wants to get on the field. But you got to find somewhere a role on the field for him because he's a very good football player, and we know he can play at a high elite level. And when you have a talented player on the sidelines, if the case is just playing time, he has guys in front of him, you got to find somewhere. There's a role for him on this football team. on the
Yeah.
defense.
I mean, thankfully we have these two stud safeties. You know, that Kinchins is already showing up. James Williams is already showing up. I hate losing Avante in the shuffle. I agree with you. There's got to be a way to get him on the field at certain times, especially more often and during moments of more impact. Honestly, we know what the type of player he is. We know he's a high upside player. Kinchins has just looked so good fundamentally as a safety already, dude, that it's just hard to take him out. And then James Williams floating around out there. I mean, he was even posting up at the linebacker position. So, I mean, dude, it's tough, man. It's tough to find ways to get him out there. And then you got Gilbert Frierson playing star, which is another option. And Gilbert's been playing good, too. So, it's tough, man. That's tough to find playing time.
And, Wesley Basaint had an easy interception. It was late in the fourth quarter. Look, it's going to happen, but you need to execute. If they give you easy interceptions, especially in great field position, you got to take advantage because then the score's a lot different. The score's going to be a lot different. You can't, drop easy interceptions. In my opinion, that's the difference between teams that execute, a 10-2 football team, 11-1 football team, and a team that goes 8-4, 7-5, 9-3. Okay, because it will happen in other games.
If we get no turnovers or just one turnover versus A&M and they get multiple and they capitalize, we're screwed.
There you go.
We're screwed.
I want to talk about the offense. We've been focusing on the defense. Tyler Van Dyke probably is not his best game today, which is fine. 263 passing yards, 1 TD, 1 interception. Show up against Texas A&M. I'm not worried about him. He's been the leader of this offense. He's our star quarterback. He'll be fine. It's not the end of the world. Even his stat line doesn't look that bad. He made some questionable decisions today. Henry Parrish Jr. Okay, this is a running back we took from Ole Miss. 24 carries, 116 rushing yards on the ground. He had a 37-yard rushing touchdown that was called back over a BS penalty. Okay, so his stat line, in my opinion, should have been a lot higher. This is why we took him from Ole Miss, okay, because he's a very good running back. And right now, offensively, I think he's probably one of our best players besides Xavier Restrepo. And we're going to need him to step up. Knighton's first half was awful. I know a lot of people love Knighton. He did not play the rest of the second half. I don't know if he's injured. He didn't have a strong first half. I don't know if it's a lingering injury, okay? They basically, threw him a lateral pass. He dropped it on 3rd and 4. Then he's like fumbling around with the football, rolling on the ground. Listen, okay, we can't have that. 3rd and 4 against any Power 5 opponent to move the chains is unacceptable. Okay, I don't know what's going on. It's a lingering issue. I'm glad Henry Parrish stepped up. I'm glad we've identified Thad Franklin as a short yardage situational running back that we can count on because he is moving the offense. He's a big bowling ball. That, and I think he can find a role on this offense.
I like Thad as our power back. I really, really do. There was actually a signature Thad run, I thought, in the third quarter at the 11:39 mark. He actually pushed Mallory out of the way because Mallory was going too slow on his block. He pushed Mallory out of the way and then ran over to the defender for a first down. And I think that was a 2nd and 7. So it wasn't like it was just a 3-yard run. That was a signature type of play, just bully football, just running over everybody. I don't care who you are. Get the hell out of my way. I'm getting the first down. That's Thad Franklin. And I think him adding that aspect to our offense, it is very vital and it's very important going forward.
Wide receivers, Xavier Restrepo, 6 receptions, 72 receiving yards. He's going to be the leader of this offense in this wide receiver core. I'm glad Brashard Smith was a lot more active in this offense. I said this past week I want to see more Brashard Smith, Romello Brinson added to, just getting more targets in this wide receiver rotation. I think those two guys can be very good players and a difference maker in a lot of football games. Keyshawn Smith, 3 receptions, 49 receiving yards. I like how Michael Redding, the third, is also getting involved a lot more. He's a big target, and we're going to need him. Frank Ladson was actually, he was wide open on one play towards nearing the end of the fourth quarter. TBD completely missed him. But I just don't think he's going to be a major player in this offense. I just don't see his role. I think Michael Redding the third kind of, he's a big body target, and maybe we can utilize him the way we thought we were going to utilize Frank Ladson instead.
What would you like to see from the tight end core going
Oh,
forward? I mean, are we going to trust in Mallory just because we're playing Texas A&M?
So, basically, for run protection, we're putting in Dominic Mammarelli.
Yep.
Then Elijah Arroyo, I don't know if you guys realize this. He was getting, I think, a lot of more snaps this week against Southern Miss. I think he went 50-50 with Will Mallory, if not more. I think Elijah Arroyo needs to be your starting tight end moving forward, and I'd love to see Jaleel Skinner get more playing time. You can't have five-star tight ends, five-star recruits on the sidelines, not even getting a snap, getting any targets a game. They'll go somewhere else. I'm not saying that, but you got to get him involved. He's a 6'5". He's more athletic. He's probably the most athletic tight end we have in the room. You got to utilize it in some way. I'm not seeing it with Will Mallory. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again. Elijah Arroyo, Jaleel Skinner is the future of the tight end room moving forward.
And especially not getting Skinner involved with these new rules where you can actually play 4 games and not burn your red shirt. So it's frustrating to me to not see him out there getting some experience against the type of opponent where he could build confidence against. A Southern Miss they're not bad, but they're not great. It's a good starting spot for a young freshman to try to build confidence. Mallory, he looks slow. I'm not quite sure what's going on. I haven't seen added weight or anything. He just looks slow. He really does. And Arroyo's got to be the guy going forward, especially as our main pass catcher, because he can actually make plays.
Mallory should have always been a wide receiver in Big Ten football.
Just a big jumbo wide receiver?
Just a big wide receiver. He ran track and field in high school, sorry. He put on a lot of weight. He should have played at an Indiana, a Penn State, and Iowa. He's 6'5". We utilized him as a tight end, and we've seen his career. He's a fifth-year player. At this stage, your fifth-year players, most of the time, they're not going to blossom. They're just not. You already know who they are.
Mallory is who he is right now, and I don't see any change coming. And our offense needs more speed and more electricity and more power. So if it's got to be him getting pushed to the side, it's got to be him getting pushed to the side because we got guys behind who are flat out more electric.
I'm not worried about the offensive play call, guys, to be honest. I'm really not. I thought we ran a very balanced offense today. I would have liked to air it out a lot more.
We didn't expose.
Yeah,
we didn't expose a lot of our playbook, Paul.
I want to see what we do against Texas A&M. I love the flea flicker call with Keyshawn Smith. I thought that was the perfect time to run it. Rob, it's over, man. It's over with Mallory. Okay, you understand now? Okay, cool. I'm glad you understand. Cool. But it was very balanced today, and that's fine. That gets you through Southern Miss, and we should have won by 37 easily. Should have won. Parrish's callback from that touchdown, I think a different referee crew, they may not even call that penalty on, was it Jalen Rivers who was called on that penalty?
Okay. I think so. Yeah, it was BS, dude.
It was stupid. That was 37-yard touchdown, which is a phenomenal run. So that gets you 37-7. Plus, throw in Tyreek Stevenson's pick 6, or Basaint gets that pick. Ivy gets a pick. Daryl Porter Jr. We could have had, so many points off of turnovers. And I said this from the first game. If we're going to have a successful defense, Ross, we have to rely on getting turnovers, creating turnovers, and getting points, whether it's offensively or on the defense from those turnovers.
Holding teams to punts is great, but when you get the opportunity to make a turnover and make a splash play, it has to be done. And if we drop easy interceptions or we miss fumbles against Texas A&M, they'll take advantage of that, and they'll eat us alive because of it. We cannot make these mistakes over again. And here's the thing, Paul. We've been making these mistakes for the last, 15 years.
Okay, Clark, thank you.
It was like the last 15 years, bro, on and off, on and off, on and off. So, we need consistency. We got to find consistency.
Thank you, Ahmad. Offensive line, I believe 3 out of the 4 were in the first half, which is never good. You don't want to give up 3 sacks to a G5 opponent in the first half. So that's definitely, we're going to learn more about this offensive line unit. Everyone plays great against Bethune-Cookman. You give up 3 sacks in one half to Southern Miss, a G5 opponent. Let's see what you do against Texas A&M or Clemson's D-line, which in my opinion is probably, if not the best D-line in the nation, top 5, because they have a very good D-line, and it's very tough to run on Clemson. So we're going to learn a lot more about this offensive line against Texas A&M and moving forward.
Paul, kind of curious, what do you think about our special teams return game?
I feel like, well, it's tough because like people like, here's my thing, like Stevenson was actually pretty unique today. Like he had a high football IQ when he was returning punts. He kind of took his time. You can tell he was a veteran player. He let the ball roll, but he didn't. He didn't panic when the ball bounced. He rolled. He knew where it was coming. He knew where the defense was coming after him. He would take off at times. So I didn't mind that. I would like to see Keyshawn Smith return punts.
More speed.
But like I said, I thought it was fine today. I thought the last 2 punt returns, or there were 2 punt returns in particular Stevenson had, where he kind of identified where the defense was. The ball was rolling. It bounced on the field. It took a good hop. Like, I think those are all smart football, high football IQ plays. So, like, it's fine. We're not going to be – that Devin Hester was the greatest punt returner, kick returner of all time. It's never going to be replicated at Miami. Travis Benjamin was solid, but it's very difficult to find a very excellent punt returner. Okay? And I think the kick return game in college football is basically done the way it is now.
There's ways to take advantage of it, and there's still ways to make positive yards and stuff and move a team forward. But with the rules and how they've changed, yes, it's definitely made it tougher. No doubt about it. I feel more confident with Stevenson back there this year than I did last year. I'm glad that he's showing maturity at that level. Like you said, waiting for those bounces and waiting to see how it happens, that is high IQ veteran type of play. To look down the field while it's happening to see if there's even a chance to get extra yards, or do you just wrap that ball up and you just go down with it, So I mean, I'm seeing more from him as far as, like you mentioned, the IQ aspect, and that's important. It's very important going forward for us. And dude, wouldn't it be fantastic if he broke a big one against A&M? It'd be big for us.
I think the opponent we play does matter, to be honest. I think it does a lot. Yeah. Because next week, Texas A&M, you're going to learn more about this football team. That's a top 15 program. That's a good football program in the SEC. When you play SEC opponents that are used to top football, elite football, day in and day out, compared to other teams that don't face elite opponents every week, it's a different level of play. And their atmosphere is going to be insane. Probably the toughest atmosphere Miami's played since God knows when, because Death Valley wasn't even sold out when they last played Clemson. This is a big game. You know why, Ross, too? Guess what, guys? Florida, they beat Utah. Okay? Florida State, they beat LSU. Miami's got Texas A&M. They got to step up because everyone else did. Oh, but LSU sucks this year. Well, you know what? They got the job done in New Orleans in basically an away game, because it's basically their second home, their backyard, and they won. And they look a lot better. Florida, it was a home game. Utah was ranked 7th in the nation. They took care of business. Miami's got to step up. They got to compete, execute. We got to win this football game. And Texas A&M recruits a lot in Miami. It's a big game.
Coaches changing spots and moving around, they don't forget who their main rivals were. And if they get a chance to play them again, they want to show why they made the better move to a new team and that they can stomp out their rival. So this is a big game for Jimbo because he remembers FSU versus Miami while he was playing there, and he understands the implications, like you already mentioned, in the recruiting game. This is huge for Florida. I mean, this is huge for the state of Florida, especially South Florida, for Miami. If we can get a win in this kind of game and not allow A&M to just push us around like an SEC team and then come in and steal the best players from our recruiting classes, dude, I mean, that's where we start lining up something special for the future. That's where something special starts to happen. I don't know if it happens in year 1 with Cristobal, but dude, if we can make this competitive for 4 quarters, it's still something better than we've had for a while. I don't like to brag about a loss or anything, but I can find positives if it's a 3-point game, if it's a 6-point game. I can find positives against an SEC team.
We can't have this kind of first half. We will
No.
not win. We will not win a lot of football games if this first half is replicated. If we had the same energy, the same fight we had in the second half, replicated into the first half, I mean, it could be a scary football team. The talent is there. We have tools. Look, Parrish he's doing a phenomenal job as running back. Rashard Smith, you can utilize him. Redding stepping up, that's been a surprise. Romello Brinson, I love it when he catches the football. He's improved tremendously from his freshman year when he was injured, but he looks a lot bigger. You know, you have Tyler Van Dyke. Even on a bad game, he still threw for over 265 passing yards.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't his best game at all. But you know, you're not going to play your best game every week.
Even when things aren't clicking, that offense still moves for the simple fact that we got talent. When you've got talent, guys find ways to make plays.
Mesidor didn't play today. He's probably our best defensive lineman. He didn't play. I don't know if he's going to play next week.
Moultrie. Seemed like Moultrie had a decent game.
Moultrie played well.
Yeah.
Flag played great today, guys. I thought he played very well. I thought he was one of our best defensive players. And Borregales was 3 out of 3 in field goals. You got to give him credit.
Yep.
That last field goal, I was in back of the field goal post. That was the way it was angled was very awkward. That was a tough field goal to make from 48 yards.
Yeah.
That was huge.
Yeah.
I think it can all come together, but we need to play great 4 quarters against Texas A&M. I think we can have a shot. And this guy King, I mean, is it Hayes King? I don't know his name. Texas A&M quarterback, I don't care either.
Yeah.
But they're gonna air out the ball. He's going to give our defensive backs chances to pick the ball over. He's going to turn the ball over.
He's going to test us. Yeah.
That their wide receivers are deep ball threats.
Yep.
They're deep ball threats. They have a phenomenal wide receiver rotation.
If they get 1 or 2 yards on us, their quarterback is good enough to place the ball in. It might not be on the money to where they still get yards after the catch, but it'll be a pass where they can haul it in. And that's basically all they need, especially if it's 30-plus yards or something. So we have to play tight defense on the outside. And we got to watch over the middle as well. I mean, Texas A&M is a very talented team.
I think Marshall just beat Notre Dame, which is phenomenal. I hate Notre Dame.
Seriously?
I think Notre Dame's overrated every year. So that's great. That's great to hear.
That's awesome.
You know. So, you know, I understand, you know, we're upset. Could be worse. We could have lost to Southern Miss.
Yeah.
First half was up.
We could be Notre Dame fans right now. You know, we could be sulking in a bad loss. We didn't.
It's not over yet. It's not over yet. But there's 4 minutes left. But still,
we didn't play our best football, and we still won by multiple scores. You know, while it was still against Southern Miss, guess what? I can take positives from this still, Paul. I really can, because there was some absolute positives from this by individual plays on individual play. You know, especially when you break it down, it might not have been a great game, but there were some very good individual plays within the game that kept us going.
Ross, anything you want to talk about that maybe we didn't cover? You know, I'm trying to think. Or we kind of covered everything, I think. Unless I missed a couple players, but I think we covered everything in 30 minutes, which is good.
I just want to go back to the Stevenson punt return in the third quarter. That violent one where he just boxed the Southern Miss defender out of the way. That was gorgeous, dude. I mean, to see him just scoop that ball up, put his shoulder into him, and just knock that dude back 2 yards and then keep running forward for another 7-8 yards. I mean, that is great to see. And that especially in the second quarter when things start to get a little more serious. Yes, the first half we got to do better, but thankfully the second half we started to show up and we started to make plays.
I will say, yeah, I do really appreciate this team. Their energy the first half was awful, but the second half was a lot better. And, man, our run defense to allow 33 total rushing yards, phenomenal. That's phenomenal. You know, I think that's a real positive. If we can, you know, fix our run defense is on point right now. We can continue, you know, but if we can just, like, I'm going to keep repeating this, create turnovers, man, with our defensive backs. We could have had 5 interceptions today. The Saints dropped one. Porter, I don't know what he was doing. Ivy, Stevenson had one. We could have had 4 to 5 easily.
I still want to know as time goes on, and I hope we find out what really happened with that weird interception with Stevenson in the end zone. I'm kind of curious as what that was. One of the oddest plays I've seen in a little while. That was just odd. It's like the game, he got the ball and the game just stopped, and I don't know why.
Last thing I'll say before we wrap it up about Avante Williams. I don't know what's going on. He's playing special teams, so he's playing in the game. I don't know. I don't know what's going on internally. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, that's all I can say. I really don't know what's going on there. And I don't want to say the wrong thing. But if everything is fine and it's just the waiting game of getting your turn on the field, I think there is a role with him on the defense somewhere.
It's nice to have this much talent,
Yeah.
at a certain position. It's nice. I mean, Cam Kinchens and James Williams are proving to be versatile and proving to be impact players. It's hard to take guys like that off the field, Paul. It really is.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great rest of their Saturday night. Enjoy the rest of the college football games. It's Texas A&M week, and I can't wait, man. This is going to be a huge game for the state of Florida, recruiting for college football, and we're going to learn a lot about this team when we play Texas A&M 9 p.m. on Saturday.
We got a big pregame show for you guys too for Texas A&M. By the way,
Yep.
we got a big pregame show.
We're going to have a big week for you guys, and man, I can't wait. 9 p.m. Saturday night, College Station, Texas. Miami takes on Texas A&M Aggies. Have a great week, guys. Go Canes.
Go Canes.